Hey yo, what is up everybody? It's your boy Dice, aka Dyson with Wolverine versus the Green Goblin. So without further ado, let's get it, let's go. So yeah, the Green Goblin is legendary and epic, but first we'll be covering the legendary Wolverine himself. So yeah, Wolverine, as you know, is a mutant, one who was taken in by the Weapon X program and experimented on and formed into a perfect living weapon. He was made to be a super soldier of sorts. He was a mutant who was already powerful, already had a regenerative healing factor, etc. But the thing was, he had simply bone claws. He was then taken in, and the process of adamantium bonding was done. Like Deadpool, Wolverine is basically immortal, although he is not fully functionally immortal. In fact, as many of us know, Wolverine is in a perpetual state of dying. He actually fights off his adamantium poisoning in his body with his healing factor. Similar to Deadpool, Wolverine was made into the mutant he is today through excruciating experimentation. Only Wolverine, aka Logan, was already a mutant. James Howlett, aka Logan, went through a brutal experience with the process of bonding adamantium to his bones and bone claws, but it made him near invincible. His regenerative healing factor allowed him to come back from wounds that would be lethal and absolutely, of course, deadly to any other being in the real world, even actual literal powerhouses from Marvel itself. And of course, his healing factor and adamantium claws give him an advantage. With, of course, a tragic origin like many super and anti-heroes, Wolverine eventually grew up to be a powerful killing machine who knew only murder. He was a living weapon, basically a BOW, biological weapon. He was this being that, as I mentioned, could even fight the Hulk himself, being durable enough to take punches and blows from the Hulk and strong and fast enough to actually combat him, stabbing, impaling him, and even at one point taking him down to one knee, exhausted, almost out of the fight entirely. Wolverine is fast enough to maneuver around some of the fastest and most skilled Marvel characters. He is a skilled assassin and mercenary, and he is very, very peak when it comes to even just mutants in general. Being able to sometimes even lift between 2 and 4 tons, at the very least 800 pounds, Wolverine is a very skilled and very animalistic, brutal savage. He is, in fact, able to regenerate from nothing but his skeleton even. Now, the Green Goblin, on the other hand, is, of course, a very, very insane and very villainous monster. This is a monstrosity of a villain, one who will kill innocents without hesitation. The Green Goblin is badass. The Green Goblin is strong as shit. Do you understand how strong he has to be able to put this kind of a fight up against Spider-Man himself? Do you actually? Because the Green Goblin is definitely dope. He is severely powerful. He is physically very, very strong. In fact, stronger than Logan, James Howlett's Wolverine. He is able to lift somewhere around 12 tons. He is very, very fast as well, keeping up with the best. The Green Goblin went completely insane from the Goblin formula. He is very, very superpowered as a super soldier-like being himself. In fact, Norman Osborn, before becoming the villain he'd become, was working on a prototype military exosuit, one that he eventually stole after taking Goblin formula itself, a form of a super soldier serum that enhances your natural abilities as a human in every way, making you on par with Spider-Man. He tapped into the vastness of human potential, but went insane like the lab rats. His suit is very durable like his glider. He's physically strong and has enhanced reflexes and strength, among other things. He's extremely durable even under his military prototype suit. Being extremely powerful, strong and durable, with or without the suit, and all of the weapons and gadgets that come with it. He tried to manipulate Spider-Man with his philosophy of superiority. He was rejected, attacking Spider-Man, nearly beating the living shit out of him and killing him in the end. But, of course, we know how that ended up in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, how Spider-Man ended up turning the tide of the fight. Regardless, at the end of the day, the Green Goblin is a super intellectual and super powered being. One who, of course, is able to stand up against multiple versions of Spider-Man. His wrist blades can pierce Spider-Man and potentially kill him. The Goblin has a plethora, a multitude, a host of different weapons that are very lethal in nature, including, of course, the bladed pumpkin bombs, the explosive, powerful grenade-like pumpkin bombs, the trident-like weapon seen here, his elongated wrist blades, the knockout gas, his glider, etc. Now, fight. The Green Goblin flies on his glider through the city, spotting Wolverine down on the ground. As he flies above him, he empties multiple rounds directly from the glider. He extracts the blades and lights Wolverine up. He fires a missile, Wolverine leaps over it. Gobby flies, soaring directly at Wolverine, flying at him, impaling him through the ribs with his glider blades, as the glider then comes down, pinning Wolverine to the ground beneath, as Wolverine rips the glider out from his body, kicking the absolute shit out of the Green Goblin, sending him flying off of his own glider as he slashes the blades off of the front of the glider, as he then runs over directly towards the Green Goblin. Wolverine extracts his blades and attempts to cut deep through the Goblin's chest, as then the Goblin himself blocks this attack with his own wrist blades, countering with a jab straight to his chest. Wolverine is thrown back, he leaps, aiming for the Goblin, coming down ready to stab straight through him. Wolverine pounces straight through the air, running like a quadruped on all fours before lunging directly at Green Goblin, as Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin ends up using the palm of his hand to palm the shit out of the Wolverine midair, sending him flying, soaring, cutting straight through the air, many feet back. Wolverine slides back. As the Green Goblin extracts his wrist blades, Wolverine implants his claws straight through the concrete, slicing and tearing through the ground as he brings himself to a complete halt, to a complete stop as he slides back across the ground. Wolverine runs at the Goblin as the Goblin leaps through the air, kicking him straight up under the chin as he gets kicked under the jaw, soaring through the air. He lands. They run at one another as the Green Goblin stabs straight for the throat of the Wolverine, as Wolverine simply dodges out of the way as he then weaves the next slash and the next straight jab. The Green Goblin outmaneuvers Wolverine and dodges multiple slices and slashes as well as stabs straight for his body and neck, as then he simply backhands Wolverine, sending him flying through the air. He lands, going straight through a brick wall, landing straight to the ground, plummeting, as then the Green Goblin enters the building on his glider as he leaps on top of it, soaring straight through the wall, as he then fires directly at Wolverine. He lights Wolverine up with high caliber rounds before shooting a missile straight at him, blowing him up, causing the entire front of his body to be burned off to nothing but adamantium skeleton as he's thrown back through the air as the entire room that he's in is incinerated. He instantly begins to regenerate as then he runs leaping through the air at the Green Goblin, impaling both sets of claws directly straight through his ribs, as then the Goblin punches him in the face and punches him in the side of the head before he goes to stab him straight through the brain, as the Wolverine weaves out of the way and goes to slash his head off, as then the Goblin slashes straight through Wolverine's neck, right across his throat. The Goblin gets the Wolverine's adamantium claws penetrated straight through his body in quick succession with violent, savage stab wounds. He attempts to spray the sleeping agent gas from his wrist gauntlet into Wolverine's face as Wolverine simply slashes his arm off brutally. He gets straight jabbed in the face before stabbing the Goblin through the throat, impaling in one side and out the other, creating an X formation through his neck, killing him effectively. Winner Wolverine, Dice 'em a Mouty.